And this is dedicated to you. Alison Richardson, Barrington Richardson, is for you, because my parents, like I said earlier, they really went through the trenches with me as a teenager. And they really went through a lot. And they didn't give up on me. Even though my dad had a moment where he took me out, he took me back in very quickly, because I'm his daughter. So
the prodigal child.
Yeah, that's what he calls me. The prodigal child. And my parents have got my back. Down to the other day, I was stuck because I needed support for an online event for a client. My mum overheard me stressing on the phone. She was like, I'll do it. I'll jump in and act like I'm your employee and do it. And I said, will you, mum? She done it fantastic. She took the calls. She done it. Like, my parents just have my back. Like, again, if I, in uni, for example, I was running for ACS president. My dad came down and cooked for the campus and done like a rally. My parents always have my back. Like, no one has my back like my parents. And I just want to dedicate this podcast to them. So thank you.
Wow. Hello everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Against All Odds. My name is Daniel Coker, your regular host, and this week I have a very, very unusual guest. Unusual in the fact that she's also a podcast host herself. What does it feel like, being interviewed on a podcast? Anyway, we'll come to that. And our guest this week is Alicia Latoya Robinson.
Do you know why I'm laughing?
Why is that?
Because I do this as well. I was like, I can't be the only one that gets names wrong on podcasts all the time. No, Richardson.
Yeah. Richardson. Alicia Latoya Richardson.
Alicia as well.
Alicia.
Yeah.
Alicia.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. Alicia Latoya Richardson. Jamaican?
Jamaican, yeah.
Jamaican. I like that. Okay. Alicia is the founder of Black Create Connect, which is a platform that connects employers to Black talent. She has years of experience in diversity, equity, and inclusion consultancy, and also in the recruitment space. And she also holds a degree in international business from the University of Hertfordshire, which is just kind of around the corner, and also from the San Jose State University. You do love your travel, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
And she's also the host of the Black Create Connect podcast. Guys, if you're not a subscriber of the Black Create Connect podcast, please find it and subscribe. We'll put the links in the section below. It's one of my favorite podcasts, and I actually love what she's doing, and I just love everything about what she's doing. And Alicia is passionate about connecting people of color to career opportunities in a wide range of industries. Alicia, welcome to Against All Odds.
Thank you. What an introduction. Thank you.
So let's go back. How does it feel like as a podcast host also being interviewed?
It's fantastic because I don't have to think of the questions. I can just relax and answer them. But yeah, it's nice.
It's quite interesting because people don't know what it takes to put one of these on. You've got to find the people, you've got to research them, you've got to come up with the questions, you've got to schedule the interviews, and have you had people blow you out sometimes? You schedule something and they can't make it, or
yeah, that happens.
That happens, yeah.
Yeah, it's not common, but it happens.
It happens, yeah.
Got to get on with it.
Yeah, I know. Alicia, tell us about your journey so far. I read somewhere as well that you're dyslexic.
Yes, I am.
Wow. Tell us your journey.
So, I don't know. Okay, where to start really? Would you like me to start after university?
No. A bit before.
Before university.
A bit before university.
Okay,
yeah.
This is a question I asked my guests as well, so it's like haven't thought about that. So I grew up in Croydon. Okay. 2-parent household. Okay. My dad is from Jamaica, born there and raised there. My mum's from Croydon, but her parents are Jamaican. Okay. I actually grew up in a Seventh-day Adventist household. Okay. Which was for those that don't know, that means that you pretty much have to worship on a Saturday, but your Sabbath starts from Friday evening, it ends on Saturday evening. And that varies based on the time of the year, because the evenings are different. And that had a massive impact. Being a Seventh-day Adventist had a massive impact on my character.
Okay.
Because in church, from early, you had to do sermons, you had to go up and speak, you had to be confident, like you was forced to do things that you didn't want to do. So that was, and I was quite talkative growing up as well, very charismatic. So I was someone to actually say, yeah, when I get older, I'm going to be a pastor or I'm going to be a missionary. That was like my dream.
Okay.
Then as time went on, my parents and my family said to me, when I was maybe like 10, 12, Alicia, you should be a lawyer. Like, that's what you should get into. Okay. You should go into law. So, yeah, I kind of had that in my head when I was younger. And then I kind of got to teenage years and I didn't think about law, but I got to teenage years and I was a rebel. Let me tell you something. I was a terrible teenager.
Wow.
I was not a bad person, but a terrible teenager in a sense where I went against a lot of my parents' teachings. Growing up in a SDA, Seventh-day Adventist household is very strict. Like, you can't drink alcohol, you can't go to parties, you couldn't pierce your ears, you couldn't wear earrings. Don't even talk about having a boyfriend. Like, it was very strict. On top of that, having the culture of being Jamaican as well and being black. So grew up in that household. Schooling wise, I went to a private school for primary school, and then I went to a normal state secondary school. Okay. I was always average in school. I was never really bad. I was never really great. I was just okay. Things that I was really great at, I was like RE and drama, really good at those subjects. Fast forward on, I haven't actually said this to the world, and I'm thinking about if I should say this to the world or not.
Go on.
But no, because it's quite deep.
Okay.
So when I was 16, so me and my parents had a lot of back and forths because I was a quote unquote rebellious child. Okay. So there was times where I used to just leave my house and not come back for days. Wow. And everyone in the family used to always think, oh my gosh, what's going to happen to Alicia? Alicia's just out of hand. Yeah. Even my cousins in the States, now they used to be like, girl, you used to get us in trouble. Like, you would do something and then my mum was going to beat me because they say that you should talk to your cousin in England. So yeah. I was known to be the misbehaving cousin in Jamaica, everywhere. So I remember when I was in college, 17, 18, something happened when my dad kicked me out of the house. Okay. And I know he probably doesn't want me to say this, but with it, he's a prideful man. He was an elder in the church. Something happened that was against the church belief. Yeah. And he said, yeah, you need to leave. Okay. And that's when I kind of experienced my first layer of independence because I was completely by myself. I was also at that time in an abusive relationship when I was about 17, 18. Okay. Again, career wasn't really on my mind. Like the law idea had come up my head. I was just mentally, I was all over the place at that age. Then I went to University, Hertfordshire. Okay. I just went there kind of by myself. Again, I wasn't in communication with any family, like at the time because my dad had told me to leave the house. I put my back up and I stopped talking to the family and everyone stopped talking to me, and that was going on for like a year. That was a lot for me. And then me and my parents made amends in my first year of uni, which was a godsend. Kind of fast track on, I went to San Jose for a year. I stayed there, studied.
It was part of your degree.
Part of my degree, yeah. So that was again.
What made you do a degree in international business? Was it just something that you just chanced upon, or because it sounds like you didn't really have something that you're doing? You just kind of trying to find your way.
Yeah, I didn't know because when I went to college, I studied drama, sociology, accounting and business. I didn't really know what I was doing, if I'm being totally honest with you. I was just doing subjects I thought I'd like. I really love drama. I really wanted to get into acting or like hosting or the entertainment industry. But my dad always steered me away from that,
Okay.
like all the time. He always,
Okay.
he wasn't really for it. And now as I'm an adult, I get why.
Okay.
It's not an easy industry to thrive in.
Yeah.
He just wants simple life.
Yeah.
So like he didn't want complications, you know. And then also there's other things that come along with the lifestyle that doesn't necessarily align to being a Seventh-day Adventist even.
Yeah.
So anyway, international business I chose because before me and my parents, my you know, I had to leave the house. We discussed it and my dad was like, yeah, just like do business. I actually wasn't going to go to university, but my dad, he done an MBA whilst working and having like the family business and stuff. And he said he'd done the MBA for me. He said, I wanted to show you that you can study, because I was saying I'm not really an academic.
Okay.
Like I can do okay. Like I think in my A-levels, I did actually terrible in my A-levels. And in my GCSEs, I did average. Maybe I got like an A-star in RE and an A in drama. Like it was just very, but for like maths, I got like a B. English, I got like an A and a B. I was never that smart. So my dad wanted to show me, look, you can go to university, you can do it. So, and because he did business, I thought, okay, let me do something along the lines of business. I saw international. And from then I thought, I want, you know, there's an opportunity to travel here. So I just went for it. There was no deep thought behind it.
So where does your love for traveling come from? Because I know you're very passionate about traveling. And if you're enjoying this episode, I'd like you to hit the subscribe button and the bell notification. And also like, share, and comment. Now let's get back to this episode. You've just come back from another trip.
Yeah. So I think with traveling, right, traveling is deep for me because it opens up your mind to different types of worlds and it stretches your potential and your vision of what you want in life. Imagine it, right? Imagine you just stay in the same country or the same environment with the same people. The vision of what you want for your life is going to be very limited because you haven't seen a lot. Do you know what I mean? So when I go to different countries, I'm like, oh, that's possible. I can have that in my house. Or I could go to a place that's like this. Or I can live like this. You see the possibilities. That's number one. Number two, it's about also going back to appreciating what you do have. So when you go to other countries, you see sometimes, again, you always think the grass is greener. There's been places I've gone to that I've been like, this is nice, but I'm glad that I have the life that I have as well. You also meet so many people, but like you meet, it's crazy. The people that I meet when I'm away, especially on solo trips, they're just amazing, different individuals. When I was in Spain last year, I met this mum and daughter in the spa. They were both spoke French, didn't speak any English. I didn't speak any French. We went out for dinner together.
Wow.
We went out for dinner together and we just made it work. Like we tried and we used common human language to communicate. So the laughs, the hugs, the heart, the heart emoji. So it really helps to expand your mind when you're able to just put yourself out there in different environments. And also I think traveling is just like it's a mental escape for me. Like when I go
it's very therapeutic.
It's therapy. Going away is just a time for me to just, especially solo trips, to just unwind and just invest into me, recharge my batteries. I need to do that. So
it's quite interesting you talk about solo trips, because I was talking to someone recently who was saying that they're not sure if they can just travel and just go by themselves. I mean, I can travel. I go all sorts of places by myself. And it's not a problem. But some people want to go with the company of others, and I guess it probably boils down to your personality. Because if you're somebody who's very relational, you can connect with people along the way, as you've done. I think that, you don't have to wait for company to travel,
No.
You can just get up and go.
Actually, solo traveling is the best traveling for me. Because there's nobody to tell you, breakfast at this time. There's nobody to tell you, but we said we're going to do this. There's no one to say, you're taking too long. Because even just now, I went on a girls' trip and my friends were like, Alicia, you're taking long. I said, go without me. Go to brunch without me. I'm okay. I'm like that. I'm very independent. Again, the airport, we're flying out at 9. I'm not at the airport at 6. I'll get there at 7:30.
Yeah.
That's me, okay? Leave me alone. So I like to move to the beat of my own drum. I don't like to be rushed.
Yeah.
I'm really slow paced.
Okay.
So even when I called you today and you was like, relax, I was like, oh, he's my type of person. Because I don't like to, I don't stress anyone else, and please don't stress me.
Yeah.
So when you're away by yourself, you have that liberty to do that.
Yeah.
And also you can just get to know you a little bit more. Because usually when you're with other people, you make decisions based on who you're with and be like, all right, okay, I'll do that. Yeah. But sometimes you wouldn't necessarily do that if you're by yourself. So, and when I went away the first time, I did hiking in the mountains, and you know, I went to a water park by myself, and I was just exploring by myself, and I loved it.
Yeah. I remember a few years ago I was in Zimbabwe, and actually traveled to Zimbabwe at a time that they just had a coup, literally. A week or two before, and everyone said, don't go. And actually, I just felt that I should go, you know, and that was probably one of my best trips ever. And I've been going to Zimbabwe every year since then, bar COVID, you know.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. People don't think of Zimbabwe, but it's one of the most beautiful countries.
Why?
It's just very natural. The nature reserves, you know, you go to Victoria Falls and you wake up, you come out of your hotel, there's elephants walking around. It's very dangerous though. I mean,
very dangerous.
Yeah, but elephants are really dangerous. Yeah, just outside the hotel room in the car park.
Outside the hotel?
Yeah.
In Zimbabwe?
Yeah, in Victoria Falls.
There's no like barriers?
No, because the hotels are in the environment for the wild animals.
So there's lions?
There's lions, but not lions at Victoria Falls. I mean, you've got to go a bit further inside. But there's elephants. There's impalas, there's other zebras and stuff like that. And they're just kind of walking around. And people kind of warn you. You know, there's ones that went to eat at this place in Victoria Falls called the Boma restaurant. Absolutely incredible. And they cook everything in front of you. And I actually ate some worms. Okay.
By accident?
No, deliberately.
They cooked you worms?
They cooked, it's a delicacy, and then they give you a certificate to say that you had a worm.
And you ate it?
I ate it. For the experience. Come on, listen, you only live once, right? You've got to try different things.
No, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not that experimental with food. I'm not that experimental with food.
I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't go looking for it, but I did it. It was, Mopani worms. It was crisp and not slimy and all. It was good. It was reasonably okay. Anyway, so we're coming from this restaurant. Yeah. And there was a herd of elephants that were crossing the road, and it was so dangerous. So dangerous. And I was with a group of other people. We had to wait for the whole herd to pass. It took about 10-15 minutes because they basically clear everything in their path. And I was staying at a different hotel, so I dropped my friends off, and then I had to drive back to the hotel, and it was so scary because it was dark. And
then there was loads of elephants on.
Well, they had passed, but I didn't know where they'd gone because it's dark.
Yeah.
Right, and you're driving, and these elephants can take you out.
Like, would they chase you, or would they do? They
wouldn't chase you, but then if you get close to them, they make sounds, and if they get agitated, they'll just come and lift up the car and throw you away. Yeah, very dangerous. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Elephants have always been seen as like friendly animals.
No, one of the most dangerous animals.
They can just pick you up with their
trunk
and then just throw you.
Anything in the path, road signs, anything, they'll just take it down. They're just really
distracted. Yeah. That sounds crazy. Do you know what? It's interesting because I was watching Wildlife 2 days ago, watching it with my friends, and I'm so fascinated by animals. Yeah. Like they're literally in their own world, and their whole objective is to eat and sleep and hunt. That's all they do: eat, sleep, and look after their kids. Yeah. And I'm like, wow, I wish life was that simple for us. Like we don't have to do all the extra bits. We can just
pay bills and this and that.
Eat, sleep. Yeah, just exist. They just exist. All day, and then find something to eat.
Yeah. And I also went to Kruger Park and on safari, and that's another really interesting experience. There's a place called Skukuza, and the animals roam wild. So actually, before you go there, you need to sign that if anything happens to you, it's at your risk. It's basically taking on their own risk.
But hold on, are you going in there on your feet or are you driving?
You're going in there on your feet.
With wild animals?
It's wild animals.
And you went there?
I went there. I went there. And actually, I went there to play golf. It's a golf course, and it's in the wild, and there's lions, there's anything that could come out at you at any time.
And you weren't scared?
You kind of hope that you don't get attacked. But obviously, I'm here to live to tell it. You kind of hope, but it's tricky.
Did you see any animals?
There's animals, yeah.
So you saw them with your own eyes?
I saw them with my own eyes, but they didn't attack me or anything. But it's really dangerous. It's the most dangerous golf course in the world. But there's people there.
Was it worth it?
The adrenaline, I guess, is worth it. If you're a bit of an adrenaline junkie, it's worth it. But
not me. I'm not.
Anyway, tell us a bit about Black Create Connect. You know, what led you to the creation of Black Create Connect as a platform, and then also you've gone on to host a podcast, and also you do events and networking and all that. Just tell us a bit behind the thinking behind that.
So I think it would make sense for me to go a little bit back in my journey to give you context.
Context, yeah.
So I'll talk about my recruitment experience. So I worked in agency recruitment. For those that don't know what recruitment agency is, it's when you work with multiple clients and you're responsible for getting on new business and for getting on the candidates to work. So I did that for a bit in mainly digital marketing roles. Okay. Then I went into a consultancy. Now, for those that don't know, a consultancy is when you work with different clients, but you work on one client at a time on a project. Okay. So you might be on a project for a year, you might be on a project for 6 months, and you act as if you're their in-house talent, but you're really outsourced. Okay. Make sense? Okay. So during my time at that consultancy is the first time I had experienced like racism in a workplace. That's the first time I experienced it. Now, how I experienced it, I mean, it probably resonates with a lot of people as to how racism comes about in the UK. So there was many forms. Examples that I've said over and over again, there'll be times at that workplace where I will be with my black friends and we were told we can't sit together. At lunchtime, there was a time, I will never forget that moment because we all knew that it was racist and we said nothing. And we had to separate. The CEO said, you have to separate and mix up with other people. So that's racist. I also saw that with, there was complaints that were made towards a lot of black women about being aggressive. And I mean, some of the things, there was one time, an example, I just wrote a message to someone asking if something makes sense. My caps were on by accident and I typed it. She reported it to HR, said Alicia was aggressive towards me. I just accidentally wrote in capitals. It was, you know, so small things like that happened. And there was a number of events, right? If you listen to my podcast, I kind of go into it in detail. But anyway, that kind of made me feel like, wow, there's actually a barrier for me to progress because I'm constantly dealing with these challenges that are thrown my way, that my internal brand reputation is damaged because I'm dealing with all these different hurdles. So I can't really progress, even though I was good at my job and I was overachieving. So I thought, okay, that's an isolated issue. I need to move. I went to another consultancy. Now, when I went to that consultancy, that's when George Floyd sadly passed due to what took place in the States. And that's when I was made aware of Black Lives Matter. I didn't know Black Lives Matter actually started in 2016. But
okay. I thought it started after George.
That's what I thought as well. But I was only I was informed in an actual podcast interview recently actually that it started in 2016 from another incident. But I was only made aware in 2020. So when that happened, in combination with COVID and people losing their jobs, I saw a high volume of black professionals losing their jobs. I also saw a high volume of black professionals complaining about their workplaces, not speaking about what was happening in the media and just going on by and not even addressing what was happening. That made them feel uncomfortable. There was also black professionals that then started to talk about their experiences. And that's when I thought, oh, you all had similar experiences to what I had in the workplace. And then the tipping point for me was I was on LinkedIn doing a LinkedIn search looking for project managers for a role. So for those that don't know, when you're a recruiter, you have access. Do you know how LinkedIn Recruiter works at all?
Maybe just talk us through it. Yeah.
So you have access to a back end of basically all the candidates on everyone on LinkedIn, and you can filter a search. So if I'm looking for project managers, I'll say project managers within London, maybe 100 miles radius. I'll put in keywords if it's digital or IT or whatever it is, put that search in. I went through 10 pages of that LinkedIn search and I didn't see one black person. And that's when I thought, right, I'm tired. Like, it either means that black people don't know how to optimize their LinkedIn properly, or LinkedIn algorithms are off. Either way, there's a problem that needs to be solved. Because that, in combination with everything else, I felt like, let me try to do something. So the initial thing was on LinkedIn, I just done a call out and said, black talent, I know you're out there. Send me your number. Let me add you to a WhatsApp group. I've got jobs. Let me just share them with you so you can share them with your network so we can get hired. That was literally it. And it's still there today. So if you go on my LinkedIn, it's a pinned post because that was a monumental kind of start of Black Create Connect.
Okay.
So that's how it started as a WhatsApp group.
Okay.
Now, within the space of maybe 6 months, that WhatsApp group became full. And then I had so many people messaging me saying, thanks for sharing this job. I got this job from the job that you shared. Or I've got I connected with this person who then got me this opportunity. And that was becoming a frequent thing. And then another light bulb moment happened when I was like, oh, people are actually progressing and getting value from the group. It's not just a group full of just, and do you know what, with the group, it was always good vibes from the beginning. Everyone just wanted to help each other. It's never been, there's been a couple people in the group that's come in on some kind of angry type of energy. Yeah. And I'll talk to them about it and say, that's not what we're doing here. Okay. What we're doing is solutions orientated. Yeah. So if something does happen, if something does happen in the media, we can talk about it. But what are we're looking at opportunities. We're not looking here. It's not a ranting space. That's not the space. Yeah. So it became, so because I kind of made sure I created that, and I've actually removed people from the group that were continuously, there's been situations where I've had to be like, no, it's a protected, safe space. And because of that, people feel safe to just ask advice. I'm going through this at work. I'm doing this knowing that it's a safe space. So that grew, and I get to today, the group's like 600 and something on WhatsApp. Big, which is, again, I didn't expect it to grow so much, but it's, thank God it's grown to that. But how it became Black Create Connect was because, again, it was God. In 2020, I think, not last year, 2021, I was supposed to go to Ghana. Okay.
But was that your first trip to Ghana?
I was supposed to go to Ghana. Okay. And at the time, the WhatsApp group was just a WhatsApp group where people were connecting. Okay. And then I then, at the same time, ironically, I was working on DEI partnerships at an agency. So my role internally, it changed over time. I moved in-house. I was looking after working with partnerships. So like BYP, for example, a Woman Who Code, or Creative Lives in Progress. So my responsibility was making sure we're partnering up with the organizations that can give us access to talent. Does that make sense? Yeah. But then I saw a gap in how I was working with them because it felt very tokenistic. It was like, let's just sponsor this random event, or let's post this job in their job board, or let's do. But when I was looking at the applicants, I was like, none of these are making sense. And then I thought, let me share these jobs with my community. And I was getting way more hires from my community that wasn't any official company. So I was like, why is it that my small community can get these opportunities versus these big establishments that are charging us 30, 40k a year to partner up with them, and they're not having the same impact? So that was another thing that I thought about, but I didn't action in 2021. Okay. So anyway, I couldn't go to Ghana because I wasn't vaccinated. Oh, okay. So I cancelled last minute. Okay. And I went to Cyprus instead during Christmas, because I don't like being in the country for New Year's. Okay. So I was like, I have to go somewhere. So I went to Cyprus. Yeah. Now, because I went to Cyprus and I didn't do up enjoyment, I had time to think. It forced me to think. And I was like, okay, cool. What are you doing? Like, what are you actually doing with this group, Alicia? Because also people were pressuring me and asking me, Alicia, what are you doing? What are you doing? And I was like, I don't know. like you're pressuring me. Like, I was like, this is just, I didn't think anything of it.
Yeah.
And then it kept on, again, it was a good pressure, but I was like, okay, I need to do something now. So then I also saw the commercial opportunity because I saw I was working on partnerships. I thought this, and it kind of came out of nowhere, the partnerships. In the meantime, one big part that I forgot to mention is that whilst I was working my full-time job, I was working with my girl, Bami Kateye, shout out Bami. And we were doing DEI training consulting with companies during the whole George Floyd. We just picked it up and started doing it, learning on the go. And it started to pick up. So what happened is that one of the companies I worked with, I managed to get a referral for another company that managed to double my salary. So what I did, and what I tell people all the time, do not wait for your company to give you the experience. Go and get it. Even whilst you're working your full-time job, go and do it. So I got that DEI experience that then led me to being headhunted for another opportunity that doubled my salary instantly. Right? So that was a big part of it. And then I thought, people don't even know this. People don't know how to play the game properly and really make some money. Because at the end of the day, yes, people want to have their own businesses, which is great, but don't sleep on a job. A job is really going to help you with your stability. So that is what I want black people to remember. You need a job that you can progress in. So anyway, so when I went away to Cyprus, I thought about, okay, where am I going to go with this? So it's going to be a partnership company. It's going to partner up with organizations. And I thought, what am I good at? What can I do to add value to the community? And I said, I have a lot of really good conversations with different community members. I wish they were recorded. Then I was like, a podcast. I was like, I can now get into my ex vision of being a presenter, and I can just do it myself. I'm not going to wait for anyone. You know, I'll just do it myself. Now, what that looked like, the podcast, I had no idea. I was like, I'll call it Black Create Connect. The reason why I decided to call it Black Create Connect was because it's for black people, and it's founded by a black person as well. We want to create opportunities. We don't just want to fit a job description. We want to pitch in and say, this is what I think will work for your business, right? And we want to connect. We want to connect to each other. We want to connect to opportunities, employers, and that is the heart of what I do, is connecting. So I thought, let me call it that. And I remember when I said it to my friends, I was like, it's a bit of a mouthful. I said, you'll get used to it. People will get used to it. But even all now, people say Black Create, Black Creatives, Black Connect. No, Black Create Connect, BCC. You'll recognize it. You know, that's all it is. So then, literally, I had to kind of learn as I go. I just, with the podcast, what
was your first podcast like? Do you remember?
Yeah, so actually,
how did you prep for it and all that? My
first episode that I released isn't the first episode that I recorded. So the first episode that I released was the solo episode of me. I actually had recorded 6 before that episode with guests, but then I just thought, I can't just release the first episode without people knowing who I am and why I'm doing what I'm doing. Let me just introduce myself so someone has a base to go back to.
A reference point.
So I remember I actually wasn't supposed to do that. That episode that I recorded, so I bought to studio, a guest cancelled, and I thought, there and then, let me just do it now. So I just did it. And I remember on the episode, that was like a deep reflection, because I was just talking and I ended up crying on the episode. You hear it, and that was unintentional. I'm very emotional as a person as well, so didn't surprise me. But my first, where I got my guests, friends or people that I knew, that were doing things, I said, okay, do you mind just jumping on just so I can get my interviewing skills and talk about what you're doing too. And shout out my first 10 guests, because they didn't know what this was going to be. They didn't know if it was going to last, if it was going to be a platform that's reputable, and they trusted me. So I just want to shout out those first 10 guests as well. They're there. I won't go through the names, but they're there. So that's how I start the podcast. Was I started recording that in February, but I didn't release it until May. I was nervous. I was really scared to release it.
May of this year?
Last year.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, I didn't release it till May. I was really nervous to release it for so many different reasons.
So people just I don't really understand what it takes for us to come up with these episodes, because it's a lot of work, it's a lot of research. I remember our first guest, a guy called George Afakwa. Shout out to George Afakwa. And I was sitting on this patio in Portugal with him and some other people, and I just wasn't sure, should I approach him and ask him to be my first guest? Well, I couldn't tell him it was going to be my first guest, right? But I just kind of thinking, and then eventually I approached him. He said, fine, let's do it. And we did a shoot and everything. And just like you, the first few guests were people who were close friends, people I'd been to school with, family associates and stuff like that. And it's very quickly I realized that we had to look further afield. But have you not been surprised by the amount and the number of black talent out there?
No, I'm not surprised. I'm not, because I come from a family of black excellence, personally, and I see it. I've been surrounded by it from school. Remember from school, I went to predominantly black college that was really good at SFX. I went to Hertfordshire. That was full of stars as well, amazing people. So I've always been surrounded by black excellence. That's why I've got the belief that what these companies are saying that they can't find it, it doesn't exist. I'm like, I know it does exist because I've seen it. What I find fascinating is the stories behind what people actually really go through to get to where they are, because there's so many surprising stories that are so insightful and inspiring. That surprises me.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like we've had a very wide array of guests, and I actually interviewed someone that you had also interviewed, Slider Cuts.
Yes, he's incredible.
He's incredible. Lovely guy. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. So what are some of the challenges you've had setting up the podcast?
Where do I start?
Give us a full spiel.
Okay, so the first challenge was me working out the logistics.
Okay.
That's the first thing you got to think about when you're starting a podcast. Cool, I want to start a podcast. When are you going to record it? Okay, because if you're going to come out with something, you have to be consistent, or try to be at least, right? So when are you going to record it with your existing scheduling time? How do you get guests on long term? Not just the people that you know, because you're going to run out of them soon. So how do you reach new people? Also, what do you want the artwork of the podcast to be? Who's going to do the artwork? How are you going to market the podcast? How are you going to make sure it reaches people? I'm still on that journey. How do you make sure that you're getting, you're consistent with the quality that you're getting out? If you listen to my podcast, you're going to hear the quality differences in some of the episodes. I'm going to keep it 100% with you. So that quality control, not having a production team, not having a pre-production team that can source the people, do the research for you, have it ready for you, schedule the dates, and then an on-set production team that then could do the camera, do the lighting, do the audio,
do the makeup, everything.
It's a one-man, even styling. I'm like, I'm running out of outfits. I gotta think about. There's so much to think about, and also, I mean, a big challenge is having the right energy. So this week I recorded 4 episodes, right?
Oh, wow.
So I have a full working day, okay? And then I'm recording after work. And I have to bring the energy every single time because it's a one-shot time. So some days, I think it was last week or the week before, there was one week where I was on the way to a podcast episode. I was in the cab crying on the way. Wow. Okay, I was upset about something that had happened. I'm very emotional, so I was crying. I had to wipe my tears, put on my makeup, and put my smile on my face and get on with it. You have to always just show up. And these are things that people don't really talk about. And another challenge is making sure that you're still motivated if your first episode doesn't get the listens that you want it to get.
That's very true.
If you're putting out all 10 episodes and no one's really watching it or paying attention to it, do you have that motivation and drive to keep on going?
Yeah.
Those are some of the real challenges that we're going through. Sometimes I look at a video and be like, I don't like my face, man. My double chin is showing too much there. Like, but you've recorded the episode. Are you not going to put it out?
You crack me out.
No, it's I'm being real, like, you know, or it's like, oh, I don't like it, or I can see my belly, or you know, or I don't like how my mouth looks, or I should have put some more lip gloss on. There's so many different things, and you think, you know, like, it's not good enough to put out. And actually, if you believe in something, if you have a vision for something and there's a deeper purpose, no one cares about that. Like, no one cares about all of that. I promise you, they care about the content and the value that the content is bringing. So even if it's a bit roughly in some of the audios, or even if, you know, the camera's out of focus, or even if whatever it is, if the content is there, it's fantastic. And what I also notice is that people value seeing your growth. Like, there's people that have said, I like the way you've grown. I've liked the way you've progressed, because
it's amazing that people watch your subscriber numbers and stuff like that. I remember getting lots of text messages when we went past 500 subscribers. It's like, oh wow, congratulations, you've gone past 500. You know, it's pretty rare.
It's amazing.
But I'll tell you what, people who are not in this space, I mean, until I got into this space, I never knew how difficult it was to get subscribers.
Oh, it's hard.
It's really hard. It's so hard, and especially if you want to do it organically. You want people who really like your content and subscribe for a reason, not because people come to you, pay us money, we'll get you subscribers and do this and do that. But really, you want people who are people who are generally interested in your content. Yeah,
it's hard to get subscribers, and I think one of my fears that was holding me back was, I have a fear of rejection, right?
Okay.
So when you're putting something out there and people are not necessarily paying attention to it in a way, even people that you're friends with, let me tell you something, your friends are not always going to push your things.
Yeah.
Like, it's not, and it's not because they're not your friends, because there's also this connotation of your friends are not your friends. Sometimes they're living their lives. They've got babies, they've got kids, they've got work, they've got jobs. They're not thinking about your episode coming out today. And it's not personal.
It's not.
And so that can also hurt your ego and think, right, everyone's rejecting me. Like, no one's pushing my thing. Like, no one's putting it out there. And it's like, realistically, you almost have to prove yourself to yourself first and say, am I committed to me first? People watch that, and when they see that over time, then they might promote. And even still, sometimes your friends isn't your audience. Realistically. So there's that fear of rejection of like, oh, what if no one subscribes? It takes time. There's someone, a friend of mine, he has a podcast that's doing exceptionally well right now. They do it full time. And I can shout them out, actually. 90s Babies. Shout out 90s Babies. Like, they're doing really, really well. And
what are they about?
I think they're more kind of culture based, like, but they're doing exceptionally well. And I remember when they first started, and I was going to start a podcast at the same time, and I wish I did at the time, but I didn't. And I remember I spoke to him at the beginning of this year, and I said, I really want to grow my subscribers. I don't know what to do. And he literally said, be yourself. He was like, I can't give you any tricks to what we did. Like, we didn't pay for anything. We just put the content out there, and your people will find you. Your tribe will find you. And he was like, just be yourself, like, and put out. He said, just put out snippets. Another challenge, you have to find snippets to put on social media that are gonna really capture people. And sometimes I put out shorts and they don't bang.
Yeah, I know.
And I thought, this is the one that's gonna go viral. This is it. And I'm like, yep, there we go. And I'm like, hello guys, have you not seen this clip that I put out? That's what happens sometimes. Do you not know that sometimes?
I know.
Damn, it's not that clip.
And it's quite funny sometimes, because sometimes I do an episode and I say to the production team, you know what, this is it, you know, and then it goes out and then the views are just they're like two. They're just creeping.
But the thing is, you can't take it too seriously. Like yes, you were talking about business and stuff, but don't take it too seriously. Just keep it light, you know, and whatever's meant to happen with it will happen. Of course, I have a vision for it. Like, of course, I know what company I want to sponsor it next year. I know they are going to sponsor it. I'm putting that out there into the universe in my head. And I'm like, these things will happen. They will happen. Just take your time. And it's great. Podcasting has been brilliant for my company, for my marketing. Because when companies talk to me and they see I've got a podcast, whether I have 2 views or 200 views, whatever, the fact that I've got a podcast with good guests that's lasted a long time and the quality of what I'm putting out is good, that they see it as a reputable brand. It's all about branding. Okay, so if you have what tractions that is getting, if you've got good branding, you're good to go.
What do you find drives for the episodes that you've done have done really well? You know, what do you find that really drove the traffic?
So I was talking about this yesterday actually. So the episodes that do really well are anything talking about mental health that I found. Also anything that's a big one. So one episode I actually interviewed a transgender black male. And I'll keep it honest with you, there was people that questioned me for that. And I said, with my profession in diversity, equity and inclusion, my role is to understand people's experiences and backgrounds. And I don't know any black transgender males, so I'm curious to understand his experience and his journey. So that got a lot of listens because I think that there was more curiosity centered around that, right? And then also other episodes that got quite a lot of listens, anything around confidence. So for example, I remember Madeline McQueen and David McQueen, their episodes got a lot of listens as well. Anything about driving income. So Eric that runs Aya in Ghana, Eric and Nan, I think his name is. Sorry, Eric. There's so many names. His episode's got a lot of listens because what he's doing is game changing. So I think if there's anything that's really standing out, Alfred, who does multi-million pound property investments and all of that.
He was in the University of Hertfordshire as well, wasn't it?
He went to uni. That's why I met him.
I was actually watching that yesterday.
So he literally he got a lot of what do you call it, listens on Spotify and stuff. So so those.
So do you think it's the guests, because do you think it's the popularity of the guests if they have social media? It's not. Okay.
No. I don't think it's the guests, and that's why I think it's wild when guests want to charge. It's not about like your guests, it's about their story and about what they're talking about. That is what is gonna, people gravitate towards content. Do you know what I mean? Because think about it, Beyonce's done loads of interviews. We haven't seen all of her interviews. We will only watch the ones that are where the content is good. Like doesn't matter if it's Beyonce. I'm not gonna watch it if it's not a good interview. Do you know what I mean? So the guest is a factor, but I won't disregard it, but the main thing is the content.
And I think people also, it's important to be authentic, right? In this whole journey of what we're doing and people's career progression and everything like that, it's essential that you are authentic and
100.
you stay true to who you are, you know, and you basically project your values and you live those values. You know, it's a kind of a lived experience. We're talking about people's lived experiences, and it's absolutely fascinating. So what inspires you?
To live a life of abundance. And one of the things, and not just for me, I want our people to live a life of abundance and peace. That's what I want. Because we've had a lot of pain in our community. We've had a lot of no's. We've had a lot of rejections. We have a lot of stereotypes. We have a lot of negative connotations attached to our history. I want us to let go and enjoy life for what it's supposed to be. We have it once. And my key inspirations are my parents, because for me, they live a great life of abundance. They have freedom of time, freedom of finance, freedom of everything, and they have their family. And abundance is built when you have the right people around you, hence why you need to connect, where you've created the life that you want, that works for you. The life that the world tells us to have isn't going to work for everybody. Like the way people want us to work isn't going to work for everyone. Everyone's got different personality styles, strengths and everything. So I'm passionate about people living. And the reason why it's important for people to have a life of abundance and peace is because you're happy. And when you're happy, guess what? You contribute goodness. Okay, when you have badness in you, or when you're in pain, you then become a toxic person, and you're not a nice person to talk to or be around, and that's why there's crime.
Negative energy.
There's crime. There's this. We can reduce something as simple as crime by having more abundance in the Black community. Do you know what I mean? We can have people with sane minds. Okay, we can have so much more wealth being centered around. We can have more trust in our community. Right now we can't build together as much because we don't trust each other. When I'm abundant, you're abundant, we just know we just want to build even more. So do you know what I mean? So it's that. And also I'm a Christian as well, so that's the life that God has put us on earth to build, I guess, to build a life tenfold from what he's given to us. Now, my dad always says to me, to whom much is given, much is expected. So for me, I think to myself, I've been given a lot from God. I've been given a lot from my family. And there's no way I'm going to sit on this earth and just do nothing with that. No, I've got knowledge. I've been given access to opportunities. I'm sharing it. I'm going to give as much as I can. Like that's what I want to do, because I see the impact when someone messages me and says, Alicia, I got this job because of what you shared. I got this job because I got this promotion because of the advice you gave me. That fills me up. That's pouring back into Alicia, and that's why I do what I do.
That's amazing. It's amazing. You know, another thing is, I personally believe that we can promote and push each other, you know, and that's probably something that's not as prevalent in the Black community. In the Jewish community, they help each other, you know. But I like what you're doing, You're trying to get people to tell their friends about jobs and all that kind of stuff. And that's actually why, another reason why I brought you on this podcast, you know, because I'm very, very proud of what you're doing.
Thank you.
You know, and I want people to see what you're doing. You know, it's important, because somebody might say, why are you bringing another podcaster onto your podcast? At the end of the day, it's a blue ocean out there.
Yeah.
And what you're doing, we're on the same side of the fence, you know, and what you're doing will benefit the people who are also watching the podcast. You know, so I think it's important for people to help each other and have a mindset of helping each other rather than trying to see what they can get.
100%. Like that is, I think people don't understand the power of collaboration. You can do so much more together, even if you're doing the similar things, than trying to fight against each other. Like the other day, I've interviewed quote unquote competitors, right? But I don't see them as competitors. I see them as, there's areas that you're probably stronger in than I am as an organisation, and vice versa. So when we get opportunities in, we can level them out and say, this is better for you, or this is better for me, or is there a way we can collaborate to have this opportunity together? Because there's no point of me and you fighting over one opportunity. No, let's create something that makes sense and we can all eat and we can all be at the table. Like, let's make some more room and we can all be fine.
Let's create a bigger pie and then everybody should get a share of the pie.
That's what we should do.
Why not? So what do you do to unwind?
Travel.
Travel.
Definitely travel.
I know you love your travel.
I'm a massive, like last night, or typically every Friday, I'll go to a spa near my house and just chill, go to the jacuzzi, like with the girls, have a glass of wine, just chat about our weeks, have a debrief, because I don't really talk about my feelings too much as well. People think they know me because I'm so out there and I'm extrovert, but I don't really go deep. So that's my time when I have, spa time with the girls. That's my time to unleash, go deep. I love conversation feeds me. So
one of the things that I've heard you speak about on your podcast is DMCs. I actually had to go and find out what they meant.
DMCs?
Yeah.
Deep meaningful chats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had to go look there. It's like Urban Dictionary. It's like, what's Alicia talking about?
You can use it now with your young people at church. You can be like, yeah, guys, remember to have your DMCs. With Jesus. But yeah, no, I love a deep, meaningful conversation that feeds me. And I love spending time with my family, man. Like, I love my parents. I love my sisters. Like,
do you come from a big family or?
Yeah. So it's a family. So I've got 3 sisters. I'm the oldest out of 4 girls.
Okay.
And my parents. Okay. And then they always, I think like most black families, we always had an extra in the house. Like growing up, we always had a cousin or an auntie. Yeah. I don't remember us just being us 6. Someone else. So I think spending quality family time and eating. Let me tell you something. If eating isn't your love language, I don't know how close we can be, you know? Like, because, no, for real, because the way me and my friends, like, when we was in the jacuzzi yesterday, we all looked at each other and we was like, food. I want to get food. And we was like, sushi. I was like, yes. And we all was like, that's a bonding type, that's a bonding experience. Like, I mean, all ordered sushi, was like, let's have that roll. Yeah. So those are some of the things I do to unwind. What else? Other things I would like, getting my nails done, my hair done, doing like a little revamp of me, getting massages. I try to get as regular massages as possible. Those are the things I can think about and listen and go. Oh, and I've recently started again going to the gym. So that is like really me time because I'm just zoned out. No one, my phone's on Do Not Disturb, and I'm just in the zone.
Yeah. And it's also a good time to listen to a podcast when you're in the gym.
Yeah.
I found out when I was in the US recently that a lot of people listen to podcasts when they're out running or walking and stuff like that.
It's fantastic.
It's just you time.
Yeah.
So what do you think about this podcast and what we're trying to do as we wrap up?
I think that it is necessary, and I encourage you to continue doing what you're doing. Thank you for having me on your platform. Thank you for doing it. It's really important to make sure that you're captivating these stories and you're getting it out there because people, I think there's a stigma on the black potential and we're almost seen as disabled sometimes. Like we're not able to do certain things. And the fact that you're able to have a platform where people can talk about what they've done and how they've managed to get there, it reaffirms that actually we're not stupid. We're able to do more than just running or making music. And not that those things are not good. Those things are fantastic, but there's more to us. And I like the fact that you're able to showcase that. So thank you for doing it.
I would also like to say a very big thank you to Adam Ketley, who's been a supporter of this podcast, and then also Cynthia Khan, all the way from Queens in New York. So Adam, thank you very much, and Cynthia. Alicia, all too soon. I know you're a very busy woman. Come to the end of this conversation. I'm sure we'll have you on again in the future.
Of course.
And it's been a real pleasure. You know, I just feel fired up. I've just enjoyed the energy. You're such a bubbly person. Thank and like you. I said, I'll say it again. I really love what you're doing with the Black Create Connect podcast and platform. And if you're watching this, I'd like you to like, share, subscribe, and comment. Not just for this podcast, but then also for Alicia's podcast. All the details will be in the section below. So thank you very much, Alicia.
Thank you.
See you all next week.
Thank you so much. Take care.